Kristanna, first of all, really enjoyed this film. I love LA set noir thrillers. Was that one of the many elements that attracted you to the project, along with working with the cast and crew? The fact that it was an LA based noir, maybe? So,
Yeah, I do like the noir genre as well, and yeah, LA has certainly a lot of grit to share with that, and yeah, that was an attractive part to me for sure.
and what was it like working with James? Because I'm a fan of his films. His movies are very unexpected and unpredictable. He has so many different tones, and this movie has a lot of visual flourishes and a lot of different sort of. It's not your average movie of this ilk. And were you surprised with the final cut of this film as well?
I think that's one of the reasons why I also really enjoy working with James is that he does think outside the box. So in the end, you get a product that is a little different because of his way of thinking. And he's super collaborative. We really, I spoke with him, I read the script, and then we really worked together to flesh out the role of Claire. I really wanted to bring a lot of heart into that aspect of her and her relationship with Russell Hatch, Van Damme's character. And he's just he's great to work with and very communicative. And yeah, I'm really impressed by him as a young filmmaker who's already done so much work.
Now, what impressed you about Darkest of Men as a story overall? I don't know if you were able to see the final cut. I just saw it a couple of days ago. I was impressed. What are your overall taking yourself out of the actor role, just as a critic? Your honest opinion on the movie and why you liked it? I'm assuming so.
Yeah. I thought that you get various different elements in it is the best way for me to describe it. I think you get something that people may not expect walking into it. You see a softer, more vulnerable side of JCVD that perhaps we haven't seen since the self-titled film. And you see this kind of familial aspect between this unlikely pairing of him and the Jaden character, the teenage boy he's entrusted with taking care of, and then also my character. And that's more of a different background and setup than you have for your typical action film. So you get that, and then of course you get the backdrop of LA and the noir style, and some really great action as well.
Growing up as a cinephile or movie fan yourself, was there any movie or two that actually directly inspired you to become an actress and ultimately a producer and working in cinema? Was thinking back to maybe yourself as a 12 or 13-year-old, was there a specific film and what made it
There
special for
was,
you?
I know exactly the film, and it was Beethoven. Do you remember that movie with the big Saint Bernard?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the family film. And I was like 12 years old, and there was an actress in it who was about my age, Nicole Tom, who later became a friend of mine, actually, ironically. And and I had known that I wanted to be an actress from a little tiny girl on, and I had taken various dance classes and done summer stock theater and voice, and so it was at that point that I ended up meeting my dad had done some acting as well, and I met his agent in New York City and started working with him, and then it just went from there.
So you always get asked the Terminator question, and I'm trying to actually couch it in a way that maybe you've never heard it before. That is impossible, but I will say this. This is more of a subtraction on my end. I was thinking back on my movie experiences, and the end of T3 is still the end that ultimately shocked the living you know what. I'm in my early 50s, and I think that was the most surprising film for me ever in the theaters.
Hmm.
So what kind of reactions have you received as far as the movie actually, when it came out, it wasn't as beloved as the first two, but I think over the years, a lot of people feel that it's so underappreciated and underrated. Has that groundswell hit you as well? And do you get a lot of people telling you how amazing not only your performance, but that final act was? Pretty great stuff.
Well, thanks. You know, not so much in that final act. I mean, there definitely was a shock factor that I don't think people were necessarily expecting, and which is great. And that's what we want to see in film, something that really stays with you over the coming days, years, decades, whatever it is of wonderment. But certainly to be a part of a franchise of that magnitude and having such an iconic role, I feel very blessed that I've had that opportunity.
Looking back at your body of work, what put you in good stead as far as preparing for all these different films that you've had over your career, and also being a producer? And just, I look at your IMDb, and it's just so varied and diverse. When you look back at your career, what have you really appreciated about it the most?
Um, well, thank you. It's a great question. I think, doing the training for Terminator 3, I did extensive training. I did Israeli martial arts, Krav Maga. I worked with a weight trainer. I learned how to use the 45 with the LAPD. I had a nutritionist. I put on 15 pounds of muscle mass, got my body fat down to that of an Olympic athlete. I then worked with a mime coach to, eliminate all those human aspects. So really dissecting the training aspect of it set me up for a great mindset of all the different aspects that it takes to create different types of roles. So what is the backstory that goes into all these different types of roles that I've played and will continue to play, ones I haven't even dreamt up yet. And then it really, I think, also helped me see things in a holistic aspect of all the different ways of approaching something, and then getting into producing and having now my own company. And hopefully next, I'd like to direct as well.
So this is a selfish question. I've interviewed so many actors and filmmakers in my 30 plus years of doing this. Right in the Mount Rushmore is Bruce Dern. What was it like for you? I looked on your YouTube channel. What was it like for you not just to interview him for your channel, but to actually work with him on one of your producing projects? That must have been sort of a once in a lifetime kind of experience, or maybe not, because you've worked with so many great people along the way as well. So,
No, and I'm glad you brought that up. It was very special on a lot of levels. First of all, Bruce Dern, legend, two-time Academy Award nominee, and just such an incredible, affable guy with so many great stories. And he said something to me once, which I'll never forget. He said a couple of things I'll never forget. But he gave me a lovely a compliment of saying that I was a great dance partner. And, it was like Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire, and it's true when you're working with an actor, and it's a very intimate experience. And sometimes you have a great dance partner, and sometimes you don't really jive, so it's really, that meant a lot to me. And he really also said to me is like, the best is yet to come for you. And I loved hearing that in a way of like feeling as you mature as a human being and as you create more life experiences for yourself and as life happens to you, you have a richer body of experience to pull from as an actor and as an artist. And I feel that. I feel like, more and more as I grow as a human being, I have more and more to give as an artist. So that landed with me as well. And not only that, that film was particularly special, Fighting for Freedom, because my dad wrote it. And my dad's a writer, as well as many other things. We shot it at my parents' fruit farm in upstate New York. And so to be able to collaborate, and Bruce plays my dad. So to have them together shooting on the farm where I grew up and in the neighboring town, the whole thing was just, yeah, it was really special.
that's speaking of really special. Can you just talk about your company? I'm really after this role. I mean, I don't want to give away too much about your character, but it's a very kind character, kind-hearted character. I'm really excited to see what you're going to bring as a producer, as an actor. What can we look forward to down the road? Not just the immediate road, but what is your long-term plan? Because you're excited for this new chapter in your journey.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I created this company, Trio Entertainment, and this is our first film that I mean, we've invested in some others, but this one's really our baby. It's called Vice and Virtue. It's a dramedy. It's about two celestial beings, Vice and Virtue. They come down to Earth, they take human form, and they impose this judgment day on about half a dozen people that find themselves in an undisclosed location. They're faced with some very serious life or death experiences in the course of this night. And so, as these unlikely people that are there together, as we find out about their journey and that unravels, we experience their choices. So it's a film about what did I choose to get here in this moment? And am I going to go out and choose more way of the vice or more way of the virtue? So this film was really inspired to me during COVID. I didn't write it, but I helped create it and develop it. When we were all staring our choices in the face, so to speak. Do I go there? Do I not go there? So I worked in some really emotional stories from my own life experience with my son, and other really personal things. So this film is, yes, very near and dear to my heart for sure.
So this is just you're working on producing it, and you're gonna. How far along on the production process are
Well, we're
you?
done.
Oh,
We're out there. We're now on the film festival circuit, so we'll be distributing later this year. It'll probably come out at the beginning of next year.
that's how do you find the time to do all of those things? Because if you wanted to, you could just act in so many different projects. But this is it. I mean, from the outside looking in, it seems like rolling that proverbial rock up that hill as far as getting your movie out. How much strength does it take, even with someone like you on your level? So.
Yeah, thanks. It is not easy, you know. I mean, when they talk about like, I mean, I've had a child, so but it is birthing a concept in a whole different way, and it does, especially because it's you. You know, I'm the one that's the inertia behind all of it. You know, and if it's not me getting up there and throwing the ball down the court, it's not going to happen. So you really have to get up every day and go, okay, what do I need to do next? How do I need to do this next? And you do it because you're passionate about it and you believe in it. And, as an artist, you want to tell stories that evoke feeling in others, and maybe they can relate. Maybe they're moved by something and it impacts their life in a positive way. And those are the types of films that I want to make, things that are entertaining, but that also resonate on an internal level because, hey, we're in a body and we get to feel. So I think that's really important on our journey of life.
Okay, so final question is after watching Darkness of Man and what movies, like maybe a couple of movies that you would like to point our listeners to from your body of work to watch, maybe movies that you feel might be a little bit underrated that maybe they can definitely catch wherever they can.
Yep, there's one that let's see. Well, there's a couple. I mean, definitely Fighting for Freedom. I would recommend. There's another film, Attack on Darfur, about the genocide in Sudan, that I'm in and also a producer on. There's another one that's called Made for You, or wait, let's see, they changed the name, I think. Well, it was also called Made for You, and that's a really cool, also noir style thriller, love story between two men and a woman. That's a great film. There's a couple other projects that I have coming up that I'm excited about. One is called Dark Night of the Soul. This is a survival film, essentially my 127 hours. Dark Night of the Soul is taken from a poem, an eponymous poem. And it's essentially when you're facing death, when you look at your life, have you done everything that you needed to do in order to move on to the afterlife? Or do you still have things to do to wrap up in this earth realm before you move on? So
Wow.
that's a really cool, interesting film. Martin Cove plays my dad. And yeah,
Another very cool guy. I've
yeah,
interviewed him.
great guy. Oh, yeah, he's a great guy. And last but not least is a film called No Address. And that's inspired by true events about the homeless crisis that we're experiencing in the United States. So Billy Baldwin plays my husband. We have a son. And it's an ensemble cast journey of how various people end up homeless.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And very quickly, they were going back to 12 to 13-year-old you, did you ever dream that you'd become a producer? You're talking about being the person accountable for that inertia. Did you ever think that you'd be front and center as far as pushing your own projects way back when? Or, are you
You know,
surprised? Yeah.
no, it doesn't surprise me because I guess I really do like to push myself. I like to, see, you know, how far can I go? And why not? Because if not me, it'll be somebody else.
So thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed your latest film.
Appreciate it.
I'm a big
Thank
fan.
you.
Thank you so much.